XD3003 Principles of Professional Relationships. Integrating Social Justice and Human Rights Summative Assessment NURS 3030 Advocating for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in Healthcare. XD3003 Summative Assessment Overview. For the Performance Task Assessment, you will develop a podcast that features an interview with a professional that you select who can speak expertly to your particular healthcare field on core principles of the professional-patient relationship that support integrating social justice and human rights into practice. This may be a professional in your own setting, another institution or facility, or beyond. There are 3 steps to the competency assessment, with a submission required for each step. To complete this competency assessment, you will: Step 1, plan for the podcast. Step 2, record the podcast interview. Step 3, create a transcript of the podcast. Note, a guidelines document will support all 3 steps, along with a template document for podcast planning. Instructions. To complete this assessment, do the following. Be sure to adhere to the indicated assignment length. Download the guidelines for creating a podcast PDF document and the podcast planning template Word document. Download the academic writing expectations checklist to review prior to submitting your assessment. Before submitting your assessment, carefully review the rubric. This is the same rubric the faculty instructor will use to evaluate your submission, and it provides detailed criteria describing how to achieve or master the competency. Many students find that understanding the requirements of the assessment and the rubric criteria help them direct their focus and use their time most productively. Important information on interpreting the assessment rubric. Achievement versus mastery of the competency. Mastery of this competency means that 80% or more of the rows have been assessed as exceeds expectations, and no rows have been assessed as does not meet expectations. Achievement of this competency means that all rows are assessed at meets expectations or above. Assessment of individual rubric rows. In order to achieve meets expectations for a particular row of the rubric, you must have adequately completed all criteria in that row. This means that you have addressed all required elements to the required level of quantity and/or quality. In order to achieve exceeds expectations for a particular row of the rubric, you must have adequately completed all criteria in the row. And in addition, your response must reflect a depth and breadth of knowledge and expertise. Examples of this include, but are not limited to, the following. You provide additional, specific, and/or particularly relevant examples to illustrate points made. You seamlessly incorporate your original thoughts and diverse, credible, and relevant academic sources, when applicable, to express your viewpoint or develop a persuasive argument. You demonstrate a deeper understanding of the subject that draws from discipline-specific knowledge and theory and incorporates the viewpoints of a diverse set of business and management thought leaders. You draw additional connections between multiple, complex topics to support your explanations. You are able to apply your knowledge in unique, creative, and/or innovative ways. You thoroughly break down concepts into simpler parts and use your understanding of business to make connections. Your analysis is insightful and original. You design processes, products, and/or solutions that are creative, high quality, and innovative. You consider diverse perspectives and relevant social, ethical, and business-related issues when proposing new ideas or formulating judgments. All submissions must follow the conventions of scholarly writing. Properly formatted citations and references must be provided where appropriate. Submissions that do not meet these expectations will be returned without scoring. This assessment requires submission of 2 documents and 1 recording, 1 podcast planning document in Word, 1 text file with a transcript of the podcast, and 1 audio or video recording of the podcast. Save each file as XD3003 first initial last name. Note, if you submit the transcript as a Word file, please label the files as XD3031 first initial last name and XD3032 first initial last name. Click each of the items below for more information on this assessment. Podcast interview on social justice and human rights in specific healthcare fields. In this competency assessment, you will explore principles of the professional patient relationship that supports social justice and human rights in the field of healthcare in which you work, e.g., nutrition, respiratory health, nursing, social work, counseling. You will complete a podcast planning document to develop your background knowledge on core principles of professional PAT. Please contact Nursing Assignments Pro for help with XD3000 and 3 principles of professional relationships. Integrating social justice and human rights summative assessment NURS 3030 advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion in healthcare or any other assignment. Email nursingassignmentsprofessor@gmail.com.